Hey Hawks, I'm Senior Isha Soni. I got the opportunity to interview Superintendent Mr. Janowski about the COVID-19 outbreak. Currently, New York is the second highest state with coronavirus cases. A lot of community members and students have been curious about how our district plans on taking action, as well as how it will affect spring sports, clubs, and extracurricular activities. Hey Hawks, I'm with Superintendent Mr. Janowski to ask him a couple of questions about the coronavirus and how our district plans on taking action. So thank you for joining me today, Mr. Janowski.
Really glad to be here.
My first question is that students noticed posters regarding the COVID-19 outbreak around different areas of the school. And are there any other strategies we could use as a school community?
Well, so in terms of those posters, I mean, what everyone has seen out there is, we all need to be doing constant hand washing. That's our greatest defense at this point. So the idea is that just those frequent reminders to students and staff to continuously wash your hands, because we're touching things at different times that we don't know. But in addition to that, we've hired extra custodians and cleaners to help with cleaning, because the amount of cleaning we're asking our regular folks to do is above and beyond what we do normally.
Right.
And in particular, our larger elementary schools, Irwin Valley, Severn, and Carter, that's a lot of building for one person to cover during the school day when the kids are there. But we're doing a deeper clean than we normally do with the schools every night, and that's certainly a strategy that we're utilizing to help keep everyone safe. Right now there are no confirmed cases in Steuben County, which is amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
But I'm a realist. I know eventually it's going to be here.
Yeah, because New York is the second highest with the most cases. My second question for you is that many institutions and universities have declared that they're going to teach online learning. And is that something being considered currently for our school district?
Yes, so we've been working the better part of 2 weeks trying to put together the parameter of a plan. If we're closed for an extended time, how are we going to instruct kids? One of the issues we have right now is we don't know if we're closed, if that affects the 180-day requirement or not. They haven't told us. State Education Department hasn't told us. So we've assumed, though, if we're closed, that we're going to have to provide education to kids in some format if those days are to be counted. So I would say in terms of electronic learning, it works well, grades 9 to 12. I think many of you are already participating in that format across classes. I think our teachers are well versed in it at the high school. It'd be fairly easy to go away for a couple of weeks and have interaction that way. The problem is really at the elementary and middle level, for one thing. When you think about a pure electronic learning format, like what do you do with a kindergartner, first grader, second grader, where the interaction between teachers and kids is constant. It's not like you can expect a kindergarten student to log onto a computer, and it's not developmentally appropriate. So we're looking at a mix of electronic and paper, especially keeping in mind that in our rural areas we have many localities that don't have internet. They don't even have cell service to link up with. So we've got to make sure that at least we're providing that equitable opportunity for all kids. But I believe at the high school, the majority of students will be participating in electronic learning if and when we are closed.
Another concern that was brought up with some students, especially in the high school, was that a lot of students rely on food supply from school districts. So do you have a plan for that if we were to go?
Yeah, believe it or not, we do. And it just came we've just finalized it yesterday. Give credit to my assistant superintendent for school operations, Mr. Bill Pierce, for working in conjunction with food service for creating that plan. We will feed kids remotely, much like the summer food program. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they go to a number of satellite locations within the community, across the community really. And kids would be instructed to go to those sites to get their food. We also found out today the food bank is going to be making backpacks and other opportunities available for students who may need food if we're off for an extended period of time. So I feel like we've got that part nailed down pretty well. It's just a matter of communicating how to do it at this point.
That's great. And if we were to go online learning or even close school, what impact would it have on the end of the school year? Because As a senior, we have a lot of events happening in the spring, and we've already announced that a lot of them are going to be postponed. So how are you handling all these activities and celebration?
Well, you know, we received the word from the County Department of Health yesterday that they're concerned about large groups, and that while that number was undefined by them, providing examples, it was clear that a lot of the things that we would do normally were considered large groups in their mind. Trying to be very mindful of the spread and what people from the outside are bringing into the building. So in looking at impact, we tried to keep the school day as normal as possible, and your clubs and after-school activities will continue as normal. But we had to look specifically at each and every event to see, okay, does this bring in community members and parents? And if so, those were the ones that were largely canceled or postponed. Right now, we're only looking at events through spring break. I've taken the position that because this is changing so much almost from minute to minute, it feels like, that by spring break, we could be in a different situation. So I've actually had students ask me, you know, is my prom at risk? What about senior awards? Things of that nature, and I've just said, no, they're still on, it's too far out.
Right.
I believe they would still be on, and as of right now, sports is still on. We haven't received any word from the State Athletic Association, but, you know, in the end, we're gonna allow them to drive that decision, because that's the way it should be. You can't have some districts playing and some not. That just isn't fair to the students who participate. But the one big problem we have in all of this, if we close, the state education department hasn't told us if we have to make up the days.
Right.
So a scenario I pointed out the other night with a meeting with high school parents was, okay, let's say we close for the next 3 weeks. So then all of a sudden I have to announce there's no longer spring break, everybody has to come to school. And they all said, oh, I don't know that I want that. And I know you don't.
Yeah.
So until we get some type of solid guidance from state ed, it's hard to think about being off and what the real effects are. But as it stands right now, I think the end of year events at least will be on as planned without interruption.
Okay, that's great, because I know as an IB diploma candidate that IB being an international organization, they didn't know if some schools affected would be canceled and have to not take their testing. So it's great to hear assurance that there is a big possibility that by that time this will subside.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it kind of seems like we're right now getting into that period where things are going to be hot in our state in terms of impact of this. And but you know, it's hard to say. But we've taken a real close look at it and said, look, let's just look at 3 weeks out. We'll regroup during spring break, but I have to believe the late May, June activities should be a go.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking right now.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Janowski.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
For up-to-the-minute news and information, please check out all of our CPPtv outlets on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Also, check out Corning Area Schools website at corningareaschools.com and facebook.com CPP Schools Facebook page for district-wide news.